Hello there, guys. Welcome back to my channel for a first live stream in quite a while because man's been a bit busy during the international break. So, there wasn't things happening. And my girlfriend came to visit on Sunday, so I couldn't do one after the Southampton game, which I should have done, but there was no time. So here we are. And I thought, let me just not bring a little bit of me waffle. Let me also bring some comedic genius on the channel with the Grand Dam, Mr. Dammy. How you doing, mate?
What are we saying, fam? What are we saying? I mean, man's not a bit too comedic right now with what we're seeing, but we're here. You understand? We're here. Live and direct. First time happening. Exactly.
We've been talking for a little while and always tried to make this happen, but it just didn't because I'm just really bad at replying to Twitter messages, as some people might know. But here we are now. Here we are. And it's a weird time as Chelsea, in my opinion. It's a weird time because, we have these incredible 2 goals by Werner on Saturday against Southampton. We're 2-0 up. We're like loving life. And then we bottle that. And then yesterday's, it could not have been more of the opposite compared to Saturday. As far as draws can be different, it couldn't have been more different between yesterday and Saturday. First of all, guys, of course, make sure you subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Drop a like. And of course, also follow Dammy on Twitter. His link is down in the description below.
If you don't push that button on Twitter, see, if you don't subscribe, I'll be at your door. Listen, with a hatchet and everything, you need to subscribe. This is top quality content. You understand?
And
don't mess around.
Unlike myself, he actually lives in the UK, so he can go to your door.
I'll pull through. Man will pull through. Anyway, you're Africa, America, Russia, I'll pull through. But anyway, let's take it down.
I told you, I'm bringing a comedic genius. Now, mate, here we are. It was very different yesterday. Like I said, the first half was a bit, I thought we were dominated. Some people disagree. I thought we were dominated first half. Maybe a good 5 minutes between the 35th and the 40th. So that was kind of it. And then the second half, was better. But did we do much with it? And there are so many questions to be asked. Why is Mason Mount playing on the left wing? What does Frank Lampard actually want to do? Does he know what he wants? Because after Saturday, he was like, I don't necessarily want to be an attacking manager. I don't want these players to always have to pass it out from the back. Why didn't they go long? Then we play Sevilla and we go long every time. Surely we have to try to find a middle ground. Is he trying to be defensive? Is he trying to be offensive? And if we're going to sit that deep, what's the point even in playing Kante? Because then just positionally, we're not blocking anyone, but we're just hampering ourselves in the transitional phase, I guess. So there's so many questions to be asked. And I think just quickly, just start it off with, do you want to just summarize it quickly, last night's game, for everyone's watching?
Bro, I mean, last night's game, there isn't, like, if you missed last night's game, I don't think you really missed anything, honestly, because at the end of the day, we went to Stamford Bridge to play a Sevilla team that were missing some players. They were missing their best centre-back, and then the other one, wasn't really there for them. And then Chelsea just came there, sat back, were trying to loft the ball forward and pray for the best. Literally, we're lofting the ball forward to Timo Werner. He's like 5'9" or something like that. He's not the tallest player on the pitch. And we're trying to throw long balls towards him. Obviously, you've got your Mason Mount playing on the left. You've got Pulisic playing on the right. That baffles me, and we need to speak about that because that is some shocking stuff. I also need us to talk about Lampard and how he's progressing because I'm a bit confused with regard to some of the stuff he's doing. Man was happy about getting this draw, talking about how he didn't want to lose his first game against Sevilla, which I clearly understand. And a lot of people need to realize that, yes, Sevilla is a team that have been winning. Literally, is the UEFA Europa League is their competition. That's what everybody says it is. And they're not a mess about side. Literally not a mess about side. So, am I happy with yesterday's performance? Oh, definitely not. Definitely not. But just to sum up, if you didn't watch the game, you didn't miss anything. You really didn't miss anything. You just didn't get frustrated and you didn't need to pop any bottles of anything. So that's what it is, really.
No, I completely agree. There wasn't much to it. Like, it was good to see us defensively improved. You just said to me off air that, obviously we're going to be defensively better when Thiago Silva is back and Mondi is in goal rather than Kepa, which is a fair point. At the end of the day, it is a fair point, but it's still better, It's still better because we only had this for one game against Palace, and obviously if it's just one game, you're never sure, was this just a one-off game where we're defensively better, or is this just going to be a thing where we're defensively better with Silva and Mondi in goal? And to be fair, I mean, how many games has Frank been in charge now? What, 60-something, 70 games? And this is our first goalless draw, which is quite crazy when you think about it. If comparing to like a Conte and Mourinho, how many goalless draws we had? Even under Sarri, we had a couple. And we're more than over a season in, and it's the first goalless draw. So I guess it was interesting for everyone involved. It was boring. Boring Chelsea is not a thing anymore. But I completely agree with you. And let's start with that, I guess. The whole Mason Mount on the left, Pulisic on the right thing. Because I personally think I know why we're doing it, but I don't agree with it. I think it's because Werner loves to drift wide to the left. And if
Yes.
Pulisic plays on the left, they're kind of stood on each other's feet. But
Yes.
if Werner moves to the left, Mount can just drift to the middle, and Havertz can push up to kind of fill in the striker role, which makes sense. But if Pulisic is clearly significantly worse over on the right than he is on the left, and he was over on the left for 10 minutes straight after halftime, and we were 10 times the team we were. And then they switched it again until Ziyech came on. I'm like, why? Honestly, I don't understand. And as much as we all hype Pulisic, that is definitely something he needs to improve on as well. It's not like if we put Hazard on the right, he would now be an awful player. So, he certainly still needs to work on that as well. But it's also down to the manager. If you know your player is better on the left, and maybe he doesn't know, but he should know. If he's better on the left, play him on the left. And the whole Mason Mount thing, I get it. Work rate is important. And I saw a tweet earlier today, can't remember by who. If we had Mourinho or Kante or whoever, likelihood is that Mount would play as well because of his work rate, because of his intensity, because of his versatility. And that is maybe a fair point. I'm not saying don't use Mount if you put him in the right place, but the left wing is not the right place.
Yeah. Bro, honestly, I can't you know that point you brought up about Werner, that's the tactical side of things, but we should even be, you don't want to play Pulisic on the right-hand side, and I can understand wanting to play Mount there. You tell me if I'm wrong as well. I feel like maybe Mount could play on the left. The only excuse I've ever had for Mason Mount playing on the left-hand side was the fact that he could help out the left back defensively, because obviously Ben Chilwell is going to do a lot of bombing forward, and he can do it. He can defend, but it's obviously a massive improvement on on Marcus Alonso and Emerson. Those are massive improvements over those two, but it doesn't make sense. It literally doesn't make any sense whatsoever. You've got Pulisic. Arguably, he was aside Kovacic, if Pulisic had a full season last year, he would have been our best player, easily our best player. So why would we try and put him on that side to accommodate Mason Mount? Even if why is Mason Mount even playing on the wings? We've got Callum Hudson-Odoi. I understand that Ziyech is injured, but there are some certain things that shouldn't be happening at all. And playing Mason Mount on the left-hand side, where you can clearly put Pulisic there, it doesn't make sense. When Lampard was doing all, a lot of people tell me that he has a tactical headache, blah, blah, blah. He's the one that wanted every single one of these players. He knew what he had, in the bag, and he knew that Werner was the kind of player that drifted out to the left. Pulisic likes to occupy the central spaces. So literally, you've got Mount, who likes to occupy half space. You've got Havertz, who likes to dance within half space as well. You've got Ziyech, who drifts in to occupy half space. And you've got Werner, who's trying to go off to the wings. Make it make some sense to me. Do you know what I'm saying? It literally doesn't make any sense. So why do we keep on seeing this? If we see this on Saturday against United, I will be livid. I will be angry. I literally wouldn't hold anything back. I'm not going to be Lampard out in any point. So I'm going to back him to the end of the whole discussion. But there are some things that I need to see improving on. I can't understand the tactical point from that, because Callum Hudson-Odoi can play on the left. He can easily play on the left, and he would provide a lot more width, which would provide more space for Pulisic, Werner, Ziyech, everybody to play around in. So why are you putting Mason Mount, who is not going to hog the touchline or hog the sidelines, on the left-hand side? It doesn't make any sense to me. What do you think?
No, I completely agree. If anything, if we had Hudson-Odoi the team, I would still put Pulisic to the left and Hudson-Odoi to the right. But I get your point. Yeah, completely. Hudson-Odoi must be doing something weird in training, or Frank must have a bit of a problem with him, because it is strange that he's just not using him at all. And yeah, it was a Champions League game. This was a big game, but he's not using him full stop. Even in the first couple of games of the season, we didn't have any actual winger available other than him, and he still didn't start. It is strange. It is a bit strange. And the whole Mason Mount thing, yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. And by the way, Lewis, how are you doing, G? I think, though, yesterday, as much as I completely agree with everything you just said, I don't think yesterday whether Mount played or not was necessarily the issue, because we sat that good 10, 15 yards deeper yesterday, which in general I don't have the biggest problem with, to be honest. But then we didn't have a transition between that back, I guess 7, goalkeeper, back 4, plus the 2 defensive midfielders, and then the front 4. We didn't have a connection there. And there's a couple of things that, could solve that. First of all, Havertz needed to drop deeper. But then also, because we punted the ball long every time, he's the only one that could win one of those, so he couldn't drop deeper. So we're kind of stuck there if we don't play a tall striker. But also, we don't want to play a tall striker, because we've seen Werner on the left. That don't work either. So, we're kind of stuck in something. But then again, if we sit so deep, like I just said, do we need Kante there? Because Kante on the ball this season has genuinely been a bit shocking. I thought against Southampton, the guy was lucky to even be on the pitch at the first half, because he should have had about 3, if not 4 yellow cards. yesterday, I'm not even saying Kante was like particularly bad or anything. That's not what I'm saying. But if we're going to sit and, soak up the pressure and just block areas and block spaces, we don't need Kante to do that. But then to actually break out and, go past the press and also just release that pressure, there's other players much more better suited to that, like Kovacic.
We were screaming for Kovacic yesterday. A lot of people tell me that defensively we need, Georgie, because one thing that has really ruined football, discussions on Twitter especially and like on social media, is statistics. Statistics, obviously, they give you a better insight to the game and they can be used properly, but people will be telling you, oh, XG this and then this and that, and that's like, what's happening? Like, why are we talking about all those extra? It's not necessary. Do you know what I'm saying? You can pull up some stats and it would make certain individuals look much better than they are. That game was literally crying for a Kovacic to pick up the ball, because what is Mateo Kovacic? He's one of the best ball progressors on the planet. Literally, the only reason why Real Madrid let him go was simply because they had Luka Modric and some other people ahead of him who are clearly world-class and better. Modric won the Ballon d'Or, for God's sake. Kovacic is not going to bench that, despite the age. So what am I trying to say? You had a game where clearly Jorginho was getting overrun. He was 100% getting overrun in the midfield yesterday. And you could have put Kante is not the most pressure-resistant player. Obviously, Jorginho is weak. He's not really strong enough on the ball. And he's not the fastest player either. But you could have brought in the Kovacic, who would have done so much more for the team. Because if you're going to play we could have played counter-attacking football yesterday. We've got Werner. He's devilish fast. You've got Pulisic, who's extremely fast as well. Havertz looks lazy, but that guy is lightning quick. Catch him if you can. Literally. He's 6'3", but that man can run. And you've got Kovacic. If you had played Kovacic from the start, you would have been able to carry the ball so much quicker and you could have progressed so much better. But instead, we were lofting the ball forward. It didn't make sense. If you're going to do that, you're going to play like a Giroud or something, because literally all he does, what he does very well is chesting the ball down, trying to get it from low and battling with the centre-backs. But we didn't even see that. We could have even seen Tammy something. So like I said, it didn't really make any sense. So Kante, and like you said with Kante as well, Kante hasn't played well in his last 2 to 3 games, but no one's going to say anything because he's always smiling. Come on, let's keep things real. This is the Kante that everybody was saying that, okay, he's back this season. We need to make sure we play him in every single game. This man is aging. I keep telling you, he is aging. For a player of Kante's abilities, Kante has never been a superior player on the ball. Never, ever. He hasn't been a player that, okay, when I give Kante the ball, I'm expecting this, or I'm really expecting that. You expect Kante to win the ball back and give it to the person that sat beside him to get some stuff done. But when you have a situation where his partner is being pressed to oblivion and you're trying to get Kante to get you to escape, he's not doing anything. And like you said, you don't really need Kante to cover up specific spaces because that's not what he's for. Kante is the ball winner. Do you get where I'm coming from? So last night, obviously, Jorginho came on and he was very aggressive with his tackles and all of that. And a lot of people might disagree with me on this one, but that aggression was sort of needed. It was sort of needed. Some of it was a bit silly at times, but at the end of the day, I just feel like Kovacic should have come on a lot earlier than what he was yesterday. Honestly, I should have seen a pivot of Jorginho and Kovacic, if anything. Because as far as I'm concerned, N'Golo Kante at the moment is not... He didn't even really cut it for me yesterday and over the last few games as well. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. It's like I said already, if it was a game like yesterday and we sit, even if it sounds illogical, okay, we're more defensive, so surely we need the more defensive players. But really, we don't. Because if you're more defensive, you don't need the legs of Kante. You don't need the anticipation of Kante. You don't need the incredible tackling of Kante because you're already kind of there to catch the balls anyway. You just stood there just because. Kante you need is when you're a bit more aggressive. But then also against Southampton, I thought Kante was always playing the first half. A bit better in the second half when everyone else was bad. So, I guess there's pros and cons to everything. But yeah, I completely agree. When I saw how the game went, I would have said, yeah, bring Kovacic on for Kante. It's not what happened, and Jorginho got booked too early, so he needed to take Jorginho off because he was probably pretty close to a red card already. So that had to be done. You can't always control everything. But it's a tough one. But you said one very good thing. Havertz is incredibly fast, and we saw that one run from deep, a bit like Hazard sometimes did, a bit like Kovacic sometimes does, just Havertz with more pace than Kovacic. 2 things to that. First of all, incredible. Secondly, why are you not doing it more? Because if you can't do that, he's very much so often in the position to do that. But I haven't really seen it from him very often. And, I'm not saying, is Havertz good enough? Not by any means. And we know, people that have watched him a bit at Leverkusen, they know he always looks like he doesn't care and looks like he's not trying. That's just his vibe. That's what he gives off.
Can I say, we want before I even get into about his vibe and everything, because I have a really good person to compare him to did you see some of his outside, but like, you know, those passes you make on the outside of your boot, he made them look so effortless. He makes everything look easy and he looks nonchalant, but that's his style. He has that swagger about him. When you see him on the ball, he does things. So, do you remember Dimitar Berbatov from United?
Yeah.
That is exactly the vibe I get off him, because I've compared him to Ozil in the past, because Ozil has that laziness to him, but Ozil is actually sort of lazy as a player. But Berbatov was really hardworking and he could run relatively fast as well. And Havertz gives me the exact same kind of vibe, because Havertz is very clinical in front of goal. He can run extremely quickly. And when he gets his stuff done, he does it properly. Like, he makes everything he does look so effortless. And he's just 21 years old. So that's why I keep saying all these players, Havertz likes to occupy half spaces. And I mean, look, let me throw this up at you, man. Based on those runs you saw yesterday, do you think you could play in an 8 as well? So basically, we've got 2 8s and you've got like a DM at the base. What do you reckon?
Havertz, you mean? Yeah, of course he can. Of course he can. I think he's much more suited to playing as an 8 than he is as a winger, as a right winger, like, without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, I said this yesterday, like in my preview of Blues Fans TV ahead of the game. I was like, I'm unsure between 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1, because I was expecting Sevilla to press us and to dominate midfield and to possibly help us with that. You might need that, third midfielder. But then there's always the problem, like whether you officially play a 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3. Havertz could have dropped deeper. What the formation officially is or not, we come back to the problem. We kind of wanted to punt the ball long just to possibly see if we can exploit the pace or our pace advantage. But then you don't have anyone tall there, so that's why maybe he needed to stay up. And also, by the way, Dino, however I pronounce your name, sorry if I butchered it. Cheers for the £3.99 donation. Appreciate that a lot. I mean, that's the weird thing. I was the same after Southampton, more angry than yesterday, of course, but I'm just stuck in so many different minds. I'm not sure what I actually think is. There's no one problem. There's many small problems that accumulate to a fairly big problem. And, there's many things, like a lot of people in the chat saying our team will gel. And yeah, of course they will. And see it coming in.
That our team will gel. Can you, see, the thing is, I want to ask everybody. So, Laurenz, I want to ask you and I want to ask the chat as well. The team is evidently going to gel. You've got Kai Havertz and you've got Timo Werner, who have synergy from the German team. That's why they link up so well. You've got Christian Pulisic, who's such a fantastic player already. And he's obviously going to merge with them well. Hakim Ziyech is going to fit in like a glove, because I've said a lot of people, he's the signing this season that I feel is going to make the most impact, because we have not had a player that dynamic on the right-hand side in at least a decade. I don't know anybody that has been, William was here for 7 years, wasn't he? And then who was the right winger before that? We really haven't had someone that dynamic since an Iron Robin. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I was going to say Iron Robin, yeah.
The fact that we have those sort of players together, they are 100% going to gel. But my thing is, and this is what we saw, not necessarily transition, but what I've been driving recently is, you've gotten Frank Lampard all these tools, you've gotten him all these fantastic players and everything, who are evidently going to fix specific things. Us scoring a lot, we scored a lot of goals last season, and that was a big up to how Lampard wanted us to play. Fair play to that. You're going to put in all these new players, and they're going to score way more goals, okay? You're putting in likes of Mendy, and you've got Thiago Silva there as well. They're going to fix up the defense. And they're obviously going to need to merge to understand how they play together and everything. But as a team, and from a tactical and a footballing aspect, I'm not really seeing that much of an improvement from Frank Lampard. And I'm not trying to slander the man, because obviously I love him. Like I've said, I've got jerseys. You know how much jerseys are in the UK? Listen, I've got how many jerseys have I had? See, look, I've been supporting Chelsea for 20 years, and I've got at least 5 to 6 Frank Lampard jerseys. That's 90 quid a pop every single time. That's a lot of money. Let's not play around. So I know what Frank Lampard is about, but at the end of the day, I'm not really seeing, Laurenz, do you see a tactical / footballing improvement from when Lampard started coaching up until now? Because I'm not really seeing any progression. People say we are defending a lot better, but it's evident where you're going to change out the worst keeper we've ever seen statistically and put in Thiago Silva ahead of Antonio the Clown Rudiger. There are different things that are going to change up. So what's your perspective? Because at the end of the day, I keep asking the question that nobody wants to answer. What have you seen from Frank Lampard that has improved? What's the improvement from a tactical / footballing aspect? What have you seen?
I think, first of all, I agree that we're not seeing enough of that. But then again, you always have to ask yourself the question, improve tactically. I think we're not at the point yet where we see his tactics actually work. So I don't think we're at a stage of where we know, do we need his tactics to necessarily change, or do we need him to maybe improve at telling the players what his tactics are, kind of thing. Because look at the game against Palace. Look at, for example, the 4-0 against Everton shortly after we knocked Liverpool out of the FA Cup at the end of last season. Those games were incredible performances from top to bottom. And I know Palace just didn't have a good game. But still, we have these games. And even the first half, until we conceded the 1 goal by Southampton on Saturday, was remarkable. Like, by any account, we're defensively good. We were incredible on the ball. We were super quick in the passing, a lot of movement. We had good chances. We should have scored. But by the time Southampton scored their first goal, we should have had 3, if not 4 already. So we have these games where it's incredible, and that is good. But then you have these games where it's not. I think rather than tactically, my bigger problem with Frank is in-game stuff. Where I'm like, okay, so last game, you're like, punt the ball long. We can't always pass it out from the back, which is good. But he didn't bring any striker on to actually help that, did he? So I'm like, you can't keep going at the players saying like, oh, we need to punt the ball long at times when you don't help them do that. Because, these players are young. They're young, especially on Saturday more so than today because we had Thiago Silva at the back yesterday. But you can't always just say, oh, the players did, the players that. And I want to raise one thing that you said earlier. Just because I criticize certain things that Lampard does, well, for me, I'm not going to say never because things might get that bad that I will change that. But for the time being, for a good while, I will never say Frank out because that's ludicrous to me. That's ludicrous.
And that's the thing, Laurenz. My issue right now is that everybody feels like, there's when you, like, Lampard himself, and I used this analogy before, if you get a carpenter, okay, brand new tools, let's say they've been using older tools and they're not like, that's their bread and butter. You've got them old, like, I don't know, manual screwdrivers and stuff like that. You get them brand new tools. The work rate, the efficiency, and the quality of product you're going to get is going to improve, isn't it? But is he improving as an individual? You can give somebody the tools to improve their workflow, but is that person themselves actually improving? Literally, playing Mason Mount on the wing when you've got Callum Hudson-Odoi or like literally sat on the bench is the equivalent of hammering in a screw. You do not do that. That is not someone showing me that upstairs, because this man is intelligent. He's played under 12 to 13 different managers in his entire career. And not only just any random man, he's played under Carlo Ancelotti, he's played under Jose Mourinho, he's played under all sorts of different managers who upstairs have been like, they are some of the best managers the world has ever seen. So it's difficult for me to understand that people are just looking at stuff and telling me there's progress when all I'm seeing is the team is progressing, but is Lampard progressing? That is the question. And me questioning that does not mean I don't believe Lampard will win. Best believe if Lampard goes ahead to win the Champions League, I might run around my accommodation naked. Honestly, I'll be gassed. Like there's no me. Like I'm not capping. Do you understand what I'm saying? If Lampard wants something today, you're going to be happy, aren't you? We're all going to be happy, and I want Lampard to succeed because that makes it sweeter. Imagine literally, this man was one Ronaldinho away from the Ballon d'Or. Literally one of the greatest players we've ever had. If he comes out successful, I'm going to be gassed. But at the end of the day, I'm going to ask the questions that I feel people are afraid to ask. Do you know what I'm saying? A lot of people just feel like they don't want to go against Lampard. You're not going against Lampard. You're just asking what is changing. Because a club like Chelsea can't spend £200 million to get a defensive masterclass against Sevilla and then be happy that we got a draw. Look at Havertz against Southampton. When that third goal went in, did you see Havertz? His reaction? He wasn't happy. These players have got... Lampard has told them what he's trying to do. I don't know what he's trying to do. And a lot of people need to understand that all of us, like, I don't know about you, Laurenz, but I don't have no sources. People tell me, oh, you've got 10,000 followers. Probably know. I don't know anything. I'm just telling you what I think should happen. And so I'm not going to come out here and start assuming certain things just so that, like, I don't have to go against Lampard. Because at the end of the day, me going against Lampard doesn't mean I don't want to back him. But what am I trying to say in essence? At the end of the day, a lot of people just need to look at the situation and be like, what has he done to improve himself? I'm not seeing anything that's that. Even our pressing, Laurenz. What is our, like, everybody said that Chelsea are trying to be a pressing football club. What method of press do you see? Literally, they're occupying spaces in between the defenders, but they're not like doing it in such a way that prevents them from projecting the ball forward. Like, it doesn't make any sense. I'm not seeing a Lampard improvement. I'm seeing a squad improvement. The squad is improving. And a good squad like that, if Lampard ends up winning a trophy without himself improving, I will not be surprised because that's the level of squad we have. Literally, if you give this squad to anybody else, we are doing a complete madness. Obviously, the squad needs to gel, and that I know that. I'm not stupid. You get where I'm coming from? And that's what a lot of people need to understand. They need to stop repeating, regurgitating and saying the exact same thing over. All I'm just trying to put out across is what is Lampard himself doing to improve himself as a manager that gives him some form of identity? Because moving on from Chelsea, like 10 years down the line, how many people are going to give him the sort of backing that we've just done? Do you know where I'm coming from? I'm not trying to listen to people tell me that, oh, because we didn't sign Declan Rice, that we're not going to do that. That doesn't make sense. It literally doesn't make sense. So, like, I mean, I don't know if I'm being a bit too critical of the situation. I mean, what do you think?
I mean, there's a few things. Like that guy said here, first of all, appreciate the £4.99 donation, DJ. Like he's exactly what we're basically saying. You know, no Lampard out agenda by any means. We backed him to get a job once the Sarri thing was, you know, out of the question. And he just raised the same point again. Why does Mason Mount have to start every important game over Hudson-Odoi? And that kind of interlines with one thing that I want to mention now. Because you said, what is tactically improving? And that is a fair question. But there's also a case of, is there much point in Lampard changing his tactics up to adjust the players not fully working together yet? Or is it worth it to try and do the same thing continuously until the players have gelled together and have clocked it, and then it works better than if we only start working on the plan A once we are good enough for it? If that makes sense.
Sorry.
Pardon?
Let's in that. Sorry, then.
Exactly, but I backed that. Some people didn't. I backed it.
That's what I'm saying. So this, but my thing is, the same people that didn't back that are trying to back what you've just brought up to me. So make sense. Let everybody and got. Remember when everybody was talking about Kante playing as the deep line midfielder, and then you have two attacking eights. Everybody was going mad and saying Jorginho is finished. So, and the thing is, I'm not here to push agendas for certain players because I've elevated above that, and you're elevated above that as well. At the end of the day, I'm here to support my club. Okay, so what? So obviously, I love Jorginho. Everybody knows that. I love Mason Mount too. I have my biases as well, and I know that. But at the end of the day, there are certain people just keep moving with this flow, and I'm so confused. Literally, you can't tell me that Lampard has a selection headache when he's the one that went out to get all these players. He must have had something in mind, surely. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't build the squad without knowing what you're building the squad for. Do you get what I'm saying? So when people, like I said at the start of the episode, you've got Mount occupying central spaces. You've got Havertz trying to feed off the limited spaces in between the lines. Then you've got Ziyech who's going to cut in. You've now got Timo Werner occupying. Like, it don't, like, okay, is that what, like, what's the plan? Like, is it just vibing? I mean, like, I don't understand.
I think there is a case to, okay, you sign a player and they do certain things, they're good at certain things, but that doesn't mean you can't mold them to do slightly different things. Just because Ziyech has done that at Ajax, just because Werner has done that at Leipzig, doesn't mean we can't mold them to do slightly different things. So I'm pretty sure that Lampard does, have an idea in his head, and I'm pretty sure we're all sure of that. Whether it will end up working out or not, he certainly has a plan. And there is certain things that you raised that, are a problem. Like, I can't sit here as much as I back Lampard, but even though we're probably on similar wavelength in how much we back him, how much we criticize, there is no easy answer to this has improved, this has improved. There are certain things that I like that work, but I only see them in fragments. Like that first 35 minutes against Southampton. If you stop the game then and ask me what is good now, I'm like, bloody everything, because honestly, that was brilliant football from everyone involved. Even the 3-2 was incredible football. 2 minutes after we conceded the equalizer at the time, we can do it, and it doesn't always work. And Lampard needs to improve on certain things. I think he admits that. I think everyone admits that, no matter how much people love him. The one thing that sometimes we forget, because obviously that he was a player, the guy's in his third season. If we're like talking about a footballer, like a player in his third season, will we be running around saying, oh, but one of them was in a championship, by the way. Will we be running around and expecting him to like be as good as Klopp, be as good as Guardiola, be as good as Mourinho? No, we wouldn't. So as much because we're Chelsea and we appointed him as a manager, that's why we expect this. But realistically, we put our trust in someone that's young and that we know will make mistakes. And we kind of, because we put ourselves in that position to possibly have a bit of a longer term future with one manager, unlike what we've been doing for the last 15, 20 years, whether it was with Jose, whether it was with Conte, who then screwed us all over with the whole Diego Costa situation and then took us to court. And then Sarri, who we brought to change the identity, he started doing that and then we got rid of him, although unofficially, I guess, but he left Juventus. But, if fans are a bit different in the ground, there's a good chance Sarri turns down Juventus in that situation. So we put ourselves in that situation. So we need to accept that Lampard isn't perfect, but that doesn't mean like we need to get rid of him now, because we knew that. But then again, there's some people that didn't want him in the first place. So obviously I kind of get them saying he should be gone. But
but the thing is,
let me just finish that point, because what I'm trying to get at is the players need to improve. He needs to improve, but it also needs to improve together, if that makes sense.
Yes,
because
exactly. Spot on.
we signed these players, yeah, but Havertz has been here, what, a month now? 2 weeks, or maybe 5 weeks. 2 weeks of which with the German national team. Okay, Werner has been around for longer. Ziyech has played his first hour of football in the last 2 games combined, including their half an hour for Morocco, since bloody March. So you can't expect everything to just be inch perfect right now. You saw a few things. You saw Chilwell. The man's great. The man's bloody huge improvement.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's, to me, that him, in my opinion, being the best new signing so far makes it so evident what a big difference it makes to be Premier League experienced. He comes in, he works pretty much immediately. Plays pretty much his first game, okay, against Spurs, but plays his first full game against Southampton, against Palace, pardon me. And like everyone said, it looks like he's been playing with us for years. And that's the difference with being Premier League experienced. So these young players, or these other players in Werner, Havertz, Ziyech, whatever else, they need time. But it doesn't excuse other things like the Mason Mount thing with the Hudson-Odoi thing and whatever. Just, we don't actually know what's going on with Hudson-Odoi. It's easy for us to sit here and say, why is Hudson-Odoi not playing? Well, if Mason Mount just works really, really hard in training and Hudson-Odoi doesn't, even if the one guy maybe suits it better, if Frank wants to have this attitude and just this idea within the club, only if you work hard do you get to play, then he needs to stick with those guns. Eventually that will come good. Even if for a few games in a little period, it's a problem. If you want that attitude within the club, only if you work hard, things work, then you need to stick by your guns and actually live by that, even if Mason isn't ideal for the wing. But if Hudson-Odoi isn't working enough, and I don't know this, I'm not trying to paint out any agendas toward Hudson-Odoi, but even though I'm not a biggest fan of him since that transfer request, because I just don't respect that.
Yeah.
But if that attitude is why Lampard is doing what he's doing, I have to say fair enough, and we don't know that, but it's still a bit strange.
Yeah. I mean, bro, you've said it all. Like, even with the Callum Hudson-Odoi thing, at the end of the day, like, when you look at those situations, I mean, I'm pretty sure it has to do with attitude, if anything. I really feel like that's probably the main reason why. And once again, please do not take my word as gospel. I'm not a tier 1 source. I'm not a tier 69 source. I'm not a source, literally. It's all ketchup, fam. Honestly, that was a bad joke. But anyways, that was a really bad joke. But nah, at the end of the day, I'm not trying to say I know what's going on behind the scenes. But once again, Laurenz, like, we are just still fans. When people talk about training, Mason Mount clearly trains the hardest, but we should stop. I don't feel people should bring that. Like, that's not like people. We don't go for training. Do you know what I mean? These excuses, and they're not. Okay, let me rephrase. These not excuses. What people are using as alternatives as to why he's probably not starting is literally because if this was under anyone else, would we have this? If Sarri told you that Callum Hudson-Odoi wasn't playing because of his attitude, would you personally have this?
I mean, I would, but I'm a very bad example for the whole Sarri agenda.
So some people genuinely wouldn't just have that. Literally. So my point is that Lampard being the manager is clouding a lot of stuff. It's clouding some people's judgment, which I don't like. Some people are saying certain things are improving when they actually aren't improving. And like you said, it's important for the squad and Lampard to grow at the same time. This is his 3rd season in management. We're asking for a lot from him. But people are not making his life easier by putting all these sort of different excuses out there and shutting people down who are asking these serious questions. If we both of us had this conversation on like another platform, you know what I'm saying? Or like maybe if we had this back and forth on Twitter, a lot of people are going to say, why are you talking about all of this? And why are we going about like, we need to back the manager? Not blind faith, because you're putting so much trust into someone who has never done this before. Do you get where I'm coming from? He's never done this before. And I would want him to do it, but it's a bit, would I say naive? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't just, you need to ask these questions. You need to ask constructive questions. And you'd be like, okay, you need to be critical of the situation. What is being fixed up? How are things being fixed up? And what is improving? But nobody wants to ask that. So,
yeah,
I don't know.
It is a tricky one. And obviously, as Chelsea fans, we've kind of been spoiled with a lot of success, with a lot of the biggest managers in world football, whether it was Ancelotti, whether it was Mourinho, whether even Rafa Benitez, even if none of us liked him, he was not anymore now, but was a huge manager in world football. Antonio Conte is a big man manager. And, we had these huge men, even like bloody, what's his face? Scolari we had, like, didn't he win the 2002 World Cup with Brazil? I'm pretty sure he did. These huge managers. And obviously it's a very big difference now that we have Frank. Like, it's very different. Not just did we change from always having two super high quality players when no one was young, and we didn't bring in any academy players. And Frank, I like that about Frank, that he changed his attitude last year. Was okay, every academy player plays. Now they're only playing if they're actually good enough. Bar Mason Mount maybe, but for the other ones, you know. But we're in a very different situation with everything. So I don't think we can expect the same improvement by everyone as quickly as maybe we were used to it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I'm not necessarily saying this is an excuse, but I'm saying maybe this just makes sense, because can we expect the same quick turnaround success as we got from Mourinho? First season, we're already better. Second season, we always won shit. You can't expect that from Lampard yet. Yeah. Okay, Mourinho maybe special one. Already did that at bloody Porto in his first proper managerial role. But the man has been working as a manager. I mean, he was the understudy of Sir Bobby Robson at Barcelona. The man wasn't playing. It was a different story, and was working with bloody Guardiola and stuff, playing with them, like as in him as their coach and shit. So it's different. But that doesn't excuse everything by any means. You know, it doesn't excuse a lot of the things that are going on, and certain improvements need to be had. And I completely agree with what you said earlier. If we see the same thing again against Manchester United, Mason on the wing, us sitting deep, I'm a bit fuming. And one other thing that you said is, what do I see about the press? One thing that I'm not sure what I said yesterday or even in the preview ahead of the game, we press really weird. Like, we kind of press with our front six, so the striker, three attacking midfielders, if you will, and the double pivots. And then we leave this huge gap between the midfield and the back four.
Sorry for cut your thing. Literally, I started this Twitter account a year ago. So if you want to advance search me, it's not too far. But I've been talking about this for the longest time. How do you ask your weakest and slowest player? My grandma is 67 years old and she runs faster than Jorginho. And that is not with disrespect. It is straight facts. Do you know where I'm coming from? How do you ask that sort of player to go and press? Okay, not only is the press not even organized, you have enough space in between the back line and the pivot to pack two Boeing 64-7s in between. Like, there's so much space there. And then when they get caught out in transition, you're wondering what's happening. That doesn't make sense. And that's why I keep saying, I keep on seeing certain things that are not being fixed up. And I keep getting confused. Like, that's not showing me someone is like, if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, and you've got better players, and you're still doing the same thing, I'm like, what's this? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's actually the best man, the people that, if you like, I'm not saying he's not learning, because I'm not trying to violate him. And then I love Frank Lampard, you know what I'm saying? But the difference is I need to constructively criticize him. At the end of the day, I'm not seeing that pressing, even the pressing, it doesn't have structure. I mean, like, when you look at City's press, let's use the different players. When City presses, okay, they occupy the spaces in between the two players so that they are forced to play the ball long. When Liverpool presses, they man mark each individual person, so each person is under pressure. And you see some sort of, like, this organization to the press. Obviously, I'm not expecting Chelsea to press like that every game for 90 minutes, because that's difficult. Even Liverpool does that, like, maybe only 3 out of every 5 games that they have. And they've been with Klopp for, is it 4 or 5 years now? They've been Klopp for a longer time. The team has job. Definitely, I understand. But my point is, this pressing I saw last year is the exact same thing I'm seeing this year. The spaces are still there. So, like, what are you expecting? When Thiago Silva had that incident, a lot of people are just going to be like, Thiago Silva messed up. He did. He 100% did. But did you see how much space was in between the pivot and the back line? I keep asking people, what is the definition of a pivot? A pivot isn't something where both of the players just bomb forward and like that. When you look at why was Kante so successful with Nemanja Matic? Because Matic used to sit in behind and Kante could go and do whatever I wanted. What's a pivot? A pivot is when you have one thing stick, like, I can't think of anything in my room, but you know, you have something has to sit still and the other thing does like the movement. Do you know what I'm saying? You don't have both things. That's not a pivot. I don't know what you're trying to come up with. When you've got like Fabregas and like even Kante as well, Fabregas does a bit of sitting too. When Kante was at Leicester, he played with Drinkwater. Drinkwater was the perfect partner in the pivot. So when you've got Jorginho, who is physically inept, I'm sorry, he's physically inept. He can't do no running. He can't do no like aggressive stuff. And then you've got Kante, and you're telling both of them to go forward and leave a backline that consists of a 36-year-old Thiago Silva, and then you've got a Zuma that's always bound for a mistake, or a Rudiger, or a Christensen, or a Tomori, what have you. And then you've got two fullbacks attacking to make it make some sense, please. It's the same thing we saw. Like, it's the same formation. It's the same flow. That's why I keep saying you can't expect Jorginho to come out and start doing the pressing that he wants. You can't expect Mason Mount to do a job on the wings. You can't expect Marcos Alonso to press up high and then track back immediately. There's some things that you don't expect. And when you keep doing the same things over and over, I'm like, what are you expecting? You can't put Superman in every position. That's what separates the good managers from the great ones. I keep telling people, no matter how good this squad gets to gel together, when it gets to your Champions League quarterfinals, semi-finals, it's the tactics that get you through. Literally, it's the tactics that get you through. Maybe Chelsea's example of 2012 is a lot different. I mean, tactically, we're still quite good because we play like this counter-attacking football. So let's not just...
we parked a great bus, mate.
Fam, we packed buses, fam. So many. What are we talking about? Them massive red ones. You know them double-decker ones in London as well. Fam, we packed the daylight of the sense. So obviously,
like two on top of each other.
Fam, on top, fam. We were not good. Like you were not passing through. Did you see by me? Like I'm not. Let me not get too gassed in it because when I think about 2012, fam, orgasmic stuff. But at the end of the day, we could see some sort of that. You always need to have this. You need to adapt. Look at United yesterday. They played against PSG. I thought they were going to get battered. Obviously, you see Bruno Fernandes with the penalty and retaking and all of that. But give credit to where credit is due. You saw Solskjaer coming with this diamond and he threw PSG off and they won, rightfully so, because as much as we call Solskjaer a PE teacher, he's adjusting to like the dynamic. And that is what separates the good managers with the good squads from the great managers with the good squads. A good manager and a good squad can only go so far. And my point is, I'm not seeing that Lampard isn't becoming like, there's some, like, obviously he's made some substitutions where I'm just like, everybody was talking about, okay, make this swap and make that swap. Everybody said Mason Mount should either move to the right or come off the pitch. And he made the change and we're all like, yes. 10 minutes later, it's back to what it was before. And you're like, what have I just seen? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, what have you just done? So I'm not seeing that progression. That's my issue
but I need to say one thing. The whole with Solskjaer adapting to the situation, I agree to some extent, but I don't see Pep Guardiola and Jurgen Klopp changing their system for every opponent. If you are good enough,
remember when Klopp, yeah, go on.
Let me just say this, because in my opinion, Frank, and at least he's starting to do this now, and hence why I'm happy to give him a bit longer before I get even harsher with my criticism. I need a set system, which is what we're going to use. That doesn't mean every single game. That means, say, 85, 90% of the games. Of course, now and again, you need to change it up a bit. But I need a system that the players actually learn, that we can actually get really good in, rather than just mixing it around every game. 3 at the back, 5 at the back, 2 at the back, bloody, like 1 at the back when Kepa is in goal. Like, it doesn't make any sense. But I also need 2 regular centre-back, like a centre-back partnership. Okay, Thiago Silva is 36, so he can't play every single game. But I want Thiago Silva and Kurt Zouma to play almost every game, even if Kurt Zouma had that error against Southampton and had 2 sloppy moments yesterday. I don't want him to be dropped the next game. He starts again. We need to build these relationships between Mundi, between Thiago Silva and Zouma, and also the system. And I like what you said, okay, you adapt against the PSG. I agree, but I think only once you get there and are good enough at what you initially do. Because if you always change it every week, how can you ever expect a team to be good at anything in particular?
You're right. You know, the thing is, I sort of veered off because, like, at the end of the day, this thing is, you know, I'm so passionate. You know, like, we're all passionate about this discussion, and it's like always all over the place. So I sort of veered off and like lost what I was talking about. But at the end of the day, bro, it's just like there's so many different. Like, I'm not even seeing, like you rightfully said, look at that massive gaping hole in between the back line.
Oh, yeah,
and the midfield. Exactly. You know, look at that gaping hole. Like, my point is, that happened at Derby. It's happening like in the first season of Lampard. It's happening again this season. And like I keep saying, these problems will kind of almost fix themselves because of the quality of player. But is that what we need? Like, it's not showing me that.
Let me ask you one quick thing. How would you change that problem? Because there's kind of 2 solutions to that big gap between the pivot and the back 4. Either the back 4 push higher, or the double pivot come deeper. But there's 2 problems here. If we sit deeper as a whole team, we're not an attacking football team anymore, which we kind of want to be. But then if you push the back 4 up, we're so vulnerable to over-the-top balls, and we kind of struggled with that at times last season because we had games where we tried the extreme press, and then one long ball over the top flew over our heads, and we couldn't handle it. Then you need a goalkeeper that's really strong off his line and also fast centre-backs, which Thiago Silva is not. Maybe we should start playing Kazuma and Tomori at times. But Tomori hasn't seen any daylight. Okay, he came on against him. Other than that, yes. But you know what I'm trying to say?
I get what you're saying.
Push the back line higher, and then you're struggling with the pace of Thiago Silva and with our really attacking fullbacks. And none of our fullbacks are that fast. Chilwell, yeah, but people need to get... Reece James isn't actually fast. I don't know why people think this. He's a really strong guy, but he's not fast.
That's what I keep saying. I mean, for me personally, because that's my issue, Laurenz. Like, I don't know what. All I hear is attack. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't really. How are we attacking? Like, we need. Like I keep saying, you've got a left back attacking that space, the left hand space. Then you've got a right back attacking the right hand space. Then you've got 4 attackers, okay, and then 2 midfielders straight in behind. And I'm like, what's going on here? In an ideal world for me, obviously everybody wants us to get like a proper sitting DM. That would definitely help stuff long term, the way we're playing at the moment. But we need, like I keep saying, that's why if Lampard knows he can't get a DM, he needs to adjust. He needs to adjust. You know, you need like my point is like Sarri adjusted his Sarri. Like I watched Napoli religiously with like the Italian league and the French league when I was when I wasn't working, when I was at uni. I used to watch a lot more football, but then I stopped. I watched that team religiously. The Sarri ball we saw at Chelsea was modified. It was still rigid and the exact same thing almost every other game, but that was modified literally because he knew the league was coming to. Things had to switch up. Everybody was saying it was still regular football, but when you don't watch all these things and look at the differences involved, you're never really going to see the differences. Do you know what I'm trying to say? So for me, I keep saying I understand that you saying that Lampard needs like a system that we need to solve, gel and stick to. Brilliant. That makes so much sense. And I 100% agree with that. You're not wrong at all. But at the end of the day, if you don't have the tools to achieve a certain goal, you should still be able to adjust it marginally in such a way that, okay, I can't really get exactly what I want, but this is 90% of the way there. So when I actually get the tool I require, then I can actually do things the 100%, like the exact way I want to get it done. So for me, if you want to fix up this issue, is either you leave one of the fullbacks, because the amount of space that things are is so choked. Literally, there's so many players up front. Like you've literally got the pivot right behind them. Then you've got the 4 players trying to dance in around the penalty box. Then you've got the left and right back literally right. Do you know how choked that is? Plus all the you're going to have so many players up front. So I think we need to sort of either pull back one of the fullbacks, or we've got like this formation. You know when Chelsea used to have under Sarri, when they would go forward and Jorginho would drop back a little bit to form like a third centre back, and then one of the other, like the number 6, would do a bit of defensive work right in front. That would be brilliant. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying we should copy Sarri bar for bar, flow for flow, but I'm not saying if you're going to do something like that, you don't ask. That's why I keep saying you don't ask Jorginho to press that high. It doesn't make sense. That's not what he can't do that. It's the same way you don't.
I actually disagree with that. Sorry, but just to quickly explain why, because I think Jorginho himself is actually brilliant at pressing himself, because he, in my opinion, is the only one that has the footballing brain in our team to actually control the press of the pitch. A manager can do it, but I don't trust Kovacic. I don't trust Kante to actually initiate a press in the right moment, at the right time, in the right area. He can do it. But with that gap in behind, he is the one caught in transition. If the back line press higher, they are caught in transition. And then you need to adjust. Jorginho isn't suited to be caught in transition. But if a centre-back is close to him, it's fine. The centre-back's there, catch it up. That's what Napoli did. You know, Jorginho was still not leading the press as it was the highest on the pitch, but starting it, making sure it happens. And I see it sometimes in Jorginho, he's like, can we just press? No one does it, so he just goes himself. Sometimes it works. This season, surprisingly many times, the man's won the ball in high areas of the pitch where I'm like, Jorginho's on a bloody mission. Man's not want to be being sold. But if you have the line behind him higher, then you kind of don't have this exposing Jorginho moments where he just looks super slow. And one last thing, because I want to mention a couple of things that people have put into the chat here, because obviously we're talking so much. Like this, for example, Klopp and Pep make small changes. I completely agree, but they don't, like, especially Klopp. Pep changes his system, his formation, but that doesn't change his system because of how crazy his system is, if that makes sense. Exactly. But Klopp, for example, always plays 4-3-3. Klopp doesn't not play 4-3-3. Sometimes a slightly more attacking and sometimes a little bit more defensive, sometimes more man marking, sometimes higher press, sometimes lower press. But that, obviously, when I say I want Lampard to stick to a system, that doesn't mean you can't change a single thing about it. I'm just saying stick to a main plan and then adjust the small edges accordingly to your opponent, rather than being so drastic as he was sometimes last year. Like when we beat Spurs in a 3-4-3, and then man thought we would beat Southampton in it as well. I'm like, mate, it's a completely different thing. So what? It made no sense. But go on sorry to have interrupted you about the Jorginho thing.
Not even interrupt, but like, I mean, you have a point. But if Jorginho is going to do that, then that's where if that's what you want Jorginho to do, that you need to use Kante almost. Do you know Thomas Partey when he played at Atletico Madrid? Do you know why he was so effective in that position? Literally, because what happened is when he played in that position, so if you're going to have a pivot and you're going to have one, and that's why I keep saying, people ask me Kante and Kovacic's pivot. That is not a pivot because neither of them are actually going to sit behind. Kovacic thrives off driving forward and Kante thrives off going up to pick up the ball. And why don't you use Kante to his strengths? Literally, when you have Pogba and Kante, that's the argument a lot of people use against because both of them sort of go forward. But the difference is when Kante is playing for France, he does a sweeping job and he slows down the opposition from attacking. So if you're going to push everybody a bit further up, what you can use is you can use Kante to sort of block off like either the left or right hand side because he's sort of got the legs for it. I mean, he's getting older and he definitely can't run as much. But if you've got Kante slowing down the opposition on transition, then you can definitely get enough players to run back. We've got to, I mean, Chilwell a lot faster than Reece James. But at the end of the day, by the time Kante has tried to like slow down and numb down the position, we're already back in defensive shape. Do you know what I'm saying? So if you're going to get Jorginho to press up so high, you need to counterbalance that because if you're expecting, that's one of my issues. Another issue I have with Frank. This man is expecting players to do all sorts of running. You've got Havertz defending Silva. Yeah, Havertz can defend, but you're expecting your fullbacks to be up and down the pitch in less than 15 seconds. You're expecting your back like that. It doesn't make any sense. You can get players that can do that, but is that you can't really like you're not, that's not tactical. Do you know what I'm saying? That is unrealistic. This is not FIFA. I'm not saying Frank is playing FIFA because people can snip this up and take it out of context. So let me buttress up my point real quick and real correct. But at the end of the day, what I'm just trying to say is that there are certain things that can be done to counter that. So like I keep saying, if you want Jorginho, because like you said, Jorginho does go forward and press the ball quite well. And like you said, he led the press at Napoli. But if Lampard wants him to do that and defend at the same time, it's not going to make sense. So what are you going to do to counteract that? If you don't want Jorginho to play and drop into to form like a back three, another thing you can do is like you can have both centre backs there pushing quite high up, and you've got like a Kante doing the screening job. So it's almost like a 2-1-1. I don't know. I don't know if that makes any sense.
No, I get you.
So you've got Jorginho sitting in front of like a Kante, and then Kante is like screening right in behind them to slow down the position from making all those runs that would put us in trouble. By the time Kante has done that, you've got your two full-backs back already. Jorginho has probably caught up as well. The centre-backs are in good position, and you're blessed. That's exactly why Thomas Partey was so successful at Atletico Madrid.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. That's one thing I've always said. Just because Kante isn't a DM now, that doesn't mean that he can't be. Like I always said, when it was this debate of if you play a 4-3-3 and we have the deepest player, I always thought Jorginho is better suited because Kante just doesn't stay. What I never know is it because he doesn't do it, or is it because he isn't told to do it? Which we will never know, I guess, from in the past. But the only thing I slightly disagree with, because the whole of Jorginho dropping between the centre-backs, that's to me a different phase of play to when it's about holding. Because when he drops deep, that's mostly in possession to spread the centre-backs so the full-backs can go, but we're still protected in case we lose possession. When we press, it's kind of like that's a different kind of area of the ball because, it's kind of to play off from the back, Jorginho drops. Then we push higher up the pitch. So just in case early in transition, when we start to play out from the back, we lose the ball. That's why he sits there. So the centre-backs can, I guess, cover for the full-backs almost to create a short-term back three. Not that I'm saying you're wrong by any means. I'm just saying they're slightly different phases of play. But I completely agree that if Kante just sat more, and I'm not even saying Jorginho should push more than Kante. Not at all. I'm just saying he controls it and he does it. I would like them to push together if the back line comes behind them.
Synergy, yes.
Exactly.
Synchronized,
not one or the other. But that only works if the back line is on them. If there's this gap, they just put 2 or 3 players in that gap and we're screwed because then we're immediately at a 3 against 2 with the centre-backs, a 2 against 2 with the centre-backs. And if we play against a good team and there's a good first touch, a good run, a good pass, we're already screwed. And then it doesn't matter whether it's Kepa in goal, Mendy in goal. It doesn't matter whether it's Thiago Silva at the back or whoever. If that isn't fixed, we're never gonna solve that problem. But the one thing I'm gonna say is because I don't know if that's always all Lampard's fault. Because we are here, we didn't have preseason, so when exactly were things meant to have improved? And we don't actually have time to train because we play every 3 days or it's an international break. So when are we expecting things to actually get better? We can't just say Lampard after a game saying, well, you did this wrong last time, now do it better. But we don't actually have time he doesn't have time to show the players in training how to do it better. I think that's the thing that some people at the moment are slightly forgetting, that it's great. I completely agree. We should be improving at those things, but how are we expecting this to happen when there's actually no time to do things like that?
You're right. You know, the thing is, like, I've also, like, thing is, that's one thing I keep forgetting to mention. Like, I did it on the podcast, I said it in a video, I said it in a tweet. I am not going to be critical. All I'm doing at the moment, I'm asking the hard questions that everybody just seems to be avoiding. Do you know what I'm saying? That's what we're talking about.
Someone needs to, and it's a good discussion. So
exactly. So that's what we need to talk about. But these things really only apply in February, March, maybe end of December, January. That's when we're going to start. That's when things are going to be a lot more critical. Because Laurenz, between you and I, if this squad, I'm not interested in hearing, okay, we finished maybe, what did we finish last season? Third? Fourth? We finished fourth. If this team finishes fourth or third again without a trophy, I'm not going to be happy, bro. I'm really not going to be happy. Because that doesn't show we've improved. What do you think?
I don't really care about, like, I like the FA Cup. It's great if you win it. Same with the League Cup. We're out of that already anyway. But I don't think winning the FA Cup shows anything about improvement. Wigan won the FA Cup the same season they got relegated. It doesn't tell you anything. I just need us to be closer. And I don't even care that much whether we're third or fourth. We need to make top four, but we need to be closer. Because at the end of the day, whether we're third or fourth doesn't really make a difference. It's just we can't be 30 points off again.
Yeah.
We need to be within 15 maximum, in my opinion. That's improvement to me. And of course, long term, we want the trophies. And I want to win the FA Cup, but it's not going to tell me, oh, we're better now. Because Arsenal have won, 6 FA Cups in the last, 10 years or something like that?
Yeah.
They've always been awful. Like, yeah, okay, they've turned up on that final day, sometimes more than us, which is frustrating, but it didn't make them a good team ever, or at least a good league team consistently. So I want us to improve, as in, like, close the gap, which I think is really important. But then, like, I'm a bit weird. I know some people care. I'd much rather come second than fourth. And I know it sounds better. But at the end of the day, you get the same money pretty much. You get Champions League, so I don't really care. Just get closer. And the next season, I want us to properly challenge. And 2 seasons from now...
Convincingly closer as well, Laurenz.
Pardon?
Convincingly closer.
Convincingly closer, yes.
Like, because, I mean, obviously, everybody's playing, like... I can't swear on here. So, everyone is playing like crap, basically. So, like, I mean, I don't want us to just... be close and everybody was like bad, you know what I'm saying? But like, that's just me interrupting. Carry on, my friend.
No, you're right. Like, it helps us getting closer where everyone else dropped the points, especially now with the whole Van Dijk thing. Let's see what City does, because they've still dropped points already in other games this season when Leicester battered them. Yeah. By the way, we have over 120 people watching. Appreciate everyone tuning in, and everyone make sure you subscribe. That'd be bloody brilliant, and drop a like. I mean, we have had over 100 and something people watching for a good while now, which is brilliant, but we only have 47 likes. So what you guys doing? Make sure you drop that like. Make sure you follow Dan on the Twitter as well. We're going to go for 1 or 2 more, not minutes, but, discussion points, I guess. I'm going to find one more, I guess, question in the chat, and then we're going to go from there, and then we're going to wrap it up, because we've been going for pretty much an hour, even though we plan to go for about half an hour. But the amount of people to talk to.
That's a good. I mean, that's a good. I thought we were 30 minutes in. I swear to God.
Exactly. See, it's been a good discussion, bro.
It's a good discussion. A needed conversation as well.
Exactly. Because I've seen a lot of people say Kovacic and Kante need to play together, which we both disagree with. We stated that. What I want to know from you is, do you actually want to see a double pivot? Or do you want to see a 4-3-3? And if you want to see a 4-3-3, who do you want that midfield 3 to consist of?
Man put me on the spot. That's deadly. Do you mean with our current crop of players?
Yeah. Assuming everyone's fit.
Wow. With our current players, bro, I don't even like... I can't lie to you. With our current players right now, I wouldn't expect a rigid 4-3-3. So I would expect something a bit more fluid, in the sense that it would be a 4. How would I put it? You know how you can have like one attacking 8, and then you've got 2 sort of like almost like a pivoty kind of 4-3-3. If that makes any sense.
You're almost saying like Sarri.
I don't even want to drop that man's name again, because whenever you mention Sarri to this fan base, everybody's like, "Oh, I'm going to block you."
Either they love you or they want to murder you.
Exactly, and I'm just like, "Oh, it's a reference. Relax. Come take your drink, your calming tea, and then sit down and we have a conversation, innit?" So, but then I'm just thinking like, that's a tough question, because like we don't have that natural DM at the moment. Obviously, I'd like to see something like maybe along the lines of Jorginho, Kovacic, and Havertz, but that's defensive suicide. Like that's not really something that will give us too much stability when it comes to defending. Obviously, like I keep telling people, my favorite pivot is Jorginho and Kovacic, not because they are the best defensively, but the synergy that is there already, and like the way they link up and the way they communicate and the way they sort of counterbalance each other. If Lampard was more, if he molded things to fit them a bit better, I think we'd get a lot more out of them. But for me personally, I don't know, 4-3-3 is kind of hard to play with the team we currently do have, because we're not going to, the way Lampard likes to, he likes people to run up and down, and we're not going to be able to get that with that 4-3-3. Like, if you get what I'm trying to say. So I don't know. Like, what do you think? People are saying Jorginho, Kovacic, and Kante, which I did say, but that leaves out Havertz, which I don't think.
First of all, it leaves out Havertz. Secondly, we saw that under Sarri plenty. That doesn't do enough attacking wise from midfield.
Yeah, but
there's two things. Sorry, no, say that first.
But like the thing about that is that attacking is not an issue now. Literally, the only thing that midfield had, because we're scoring goals for fun, bro. We scored 10
now,
goals.
Yes, but if we change to that midfield 3, would we still be doing that?
I think so, because that midfield 3 has progression involved, and if we have Werner, Pulisic, to be fair, it's still to be seen. If things are going to, if the fullbacks are going to push up the same way they're pushing up, and you've got Werner, Pulisic, and Ziyech making all the spaces and all the runs, then I would still expect us to score goals. But once again, it leaves that Havertz, so I'm not really going to listen too much to it.
Yeah, because that's why it's weird, because Kovacic was our player of the year. But if you just say that, Jorginho, Kante, but then change that to Havertz for making a 4-3, it probably works really well. Because Havertz can progress the ball equally as well as Kovacic, even is faster, but unlike Kovacic, can actually score goals. So, you have that kind of small problem and lack, the thing that was missing when Sarri played that midfield 3. You change it by putting Havertz there, which is kind of the solution. But then you still have the problem, we're not sure, is that Kante's best spot? Then Jorginho has incredible games and does that job so incredibly well. But then he has other games where I'm like, I don't want to see him as a single DM, because sometimes he struggles, sometimes he's great. And I'm not even saying this is necessarily all down to the opponent. Everyone has a good day, everyone has a bad day. And exactly what you just said, we don't know, because it's really tough. But then are we a bit too overcritical to Frank if we don't know? And we don't even have any pressure on us to actually know. But we don't know.
But the thing is, he bought the players. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not.
Who would you have thought that we, because, like you said, it's not FIFA. You can't just run around saying, I want to buy everybody. Do you know what I mean? Like, who would you have bought that we could have got? And yeah, you can say Partey, but we probably would have sold Partey had we been able to get to sell another 1 or 2 players. But because of a certain thing happening in the world, we couldn't actually sell anyone, because no one can afford anyone other than us. So who would you have bought to kind of solve that problem in your head as the last question?
Partey was the one, I can't lie. Partey was
the one. I
think Declan Rice is, I have been put on record for not slandering him, but basically saying he was too basic as a player. That was what I said before. I backtracked, looked at the situation and saw what we were trying to play at the time, which was the offensive 8 with a DM. Declan Rice can get stuff done, but for the amount of money that they are requesting, West Ham are requesting, I'm like, I'm not trying to pay that much money for somebody I'm not too sure about. Because when you put, thing is, Declan Rice, a lot of people say that he's a really good player, he's a good DM. I remember people were saying he was going to be signed as a centre-back, then they wanted him to be signed as a DM. I'm like, where do you want to put him? Like, we've got Ethan Ampadu as well. That's another discussion entirely. I don't want to get too much. But with Declan Rice you haven't seen. Do you know what it means to slot in a player from a team like West Ham, put them into Chelsea, and put them under the same amount of pressure that the likes of Jorginho, Kovacic, and Kante are going to get? That's different gravy. And for someone that's 21 years old and I haven't really seen at the highest stage, I'm just like, people think it was going to fit like a glove and fix the team up instantly. From a stylistic standpoint, maybe theoretically, possibly, but I'm just like, as the player himself, I'm like, remember Loftus-Cheek spun this man. He spun him like twine. Listen.
Right.
You can come in from
a whole different story. Do you know what I mean? Like, man, we had so many midfielders. Now we don't have enough midfielders because we loaned 2 of them out.
Exactly.
Like, are we meant to?
It's
a dodgy one because on the whole thing where you said we sign him as a centre back, but also as a DM. I thought what we're going to do is sign him now, play him as a DM. Then once Thiago's off, we play him as a centre back and sign a better DM. I thought that was the idea. Someone like Zakaria from the Swiss guy from Gladbach might be a shout. I've watched him, but never really paid attention to him to properly give you like a full conclusive opinion on him. I know he's good. I know he's tall. I know he's strong. I know he's fast. I know he can pass the ball. But, whether he's exactly what we need, what I need, I, wouldn't like pretend to know. But, mate, we've been going for 1 hour and 5 minutes. Shall we wrap this up?
Let's wrap this up. I mean, I do have the comment here as well. I think it should be. I see one man, Rohan Nasir. Man's been asking for that United lineup.
All right.
So I think
let's satisfy the man. Let's satisfy the man.
Let's satisfy the man. So, I mean, do you want to go first?
Now you go first. Or actually, let's do it together. Let's kind of discuss it. Obviously, Monty will be in goal, right?
100% Kepa Arrizabalaga. I'm joking. Don't block me. Don't block me. Relax. I'm playing. Mendy 100%. Mendy starting. I think we're both agreeing it's a 4-2-3-1 as well.
Pardon? Say that again.
The 4-2-3-1. I think we both agree to be a 4-2-3-1.
Yeah.
It has to be 4-2-3-1, I think. 4-2-3-1. And then backline, Chilwell, Reece James, Thiago Silva, and I don't know who that last centre-back is.
It should be Zuma.
It should be Zuma because I would like to see Tomori, but the thing is, I don't want to throw in Tomori against United. You know what I mean? Like, it's a bit unfair. And I mean, people keep saying that French thing and them speaking French in the back line and I'll give Zuma the chance.
Tomori speaks French though, so do you know what I mean?
Tomori speaks French?
Yeah, he was born in Canada.
Oh, say no more. I did not know that. Anyways, you learn every day, innit? Like,
yeah. Oh my God. I didn't know always either, so information randomly pops up.
You know more. I'm going to write that down still. But who else are we? Reece James over Aspilicueta. I think that's a fair shout, to be fair. Or don't you think?
It is. That's a weird question because I thought ahead of the Southampton game, if we're going to play Reece in any of those 3 upcoming games, we're going to play him against Southampton. We didn't in that. We did it last night, and he was, in my opinion, our best player because Chilwell had an incredible second half, but some weird moments in the first half. But Reece James, I thought, was brilliant throughout. So can you drop him now against United? Probably not. So even if it's weird to not play a captain against Man United, I agree, should be Reece. But then coming to the double pivot, because it's crazy not playing Kante against United. Could that annihilate us?
That's the thing. I don't know what Ole is going to do. It's a difficult situation. It's a sticky one still. Like, honestly, it's a bit of a sticky one. Like, because I don't really know what we could possibly do in that situation. Because Kante in the last 2 games has not been it. I am sorry. Literally, it has not been it. Like, we can't. I don't like. He smiles a lot. I love Kante. He's a gem. I would take him out for a pint. Like, everything. I do like. It's calm. But this is a football club. It's an establishment. It's Chelsea Football Club and that as well. And if I'm doing things based on merit and all of that and players' performances at the time, I don't know if Kante should be playing that game. A lot of people are going to attack me for this, but hear me out. Kante has really played that well in the last 2 games. Maybe he could turn up against United because Kante has this thing of turning up against big sides like he done against Liverpool, done against quite a few people in the past. So I don't know, bro. What do you think? Because it has to be Jorginho and X because I don't see Kovacic and Kante in the pivot. I'm not really going to be too excited because we are not pinning United back. That's not going to happen. Do you know what I'm saying? We're not going to pin. You've got Rashford, you've got Fernandes. As much as we all like to batter him, Fernandes is a decent player. He utilizes the half spaces really, really well. So you've got Fernandes, you've got Martial, you've got Rashford. These men are not here to mess about. So I'm not too sure, bro. I'm really not too sure.
There's a couple of things because if you're Lampard, there's no chance you don't play Kante. Pardon me. Yeah. Because if you don't and that doesn't go well, they will murder you in the media. Every fan will. He won't do that, and I even understand that. And I think, as much as I don't think it works, I completely agree with you. Jorginho Kante is better than Kovacic and Kante because Kovacic and Kante can't work. You can't both run and none of you sits. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So I would personally again go Jorginho Kante, even though it's weird. I would even consider moving to a 4-3-3 and dragging Havertz back in an 8. Actually, when we talk about
Lampard to do that,
he won't. No. But I guess so. Then Jorginho Kante or Jorginho Kovacic for you?
I think I mean, just to be slightly different, I agree. Your point's spot on. You're spot on, 100%. But I'm not Lampard, so I can do what I like. So Jorginho, Kovacic is for me because that is what we need in this team for me personally, long term.
Okay.
Yeah, Jorginho, Kante for you, Jorginho, Kovacic for me. More or less the same thing, but I think it's now the attack that comes into play because obviously Havertz, Werner, and Pulisic playing is set in stone. That right or left wing position, the other wing position, are you going to drop Callum Hudson-Odoi into the game against United? Are you going to drop an unfit Ziyech into the game against United? Or is Money Mace going to play on the wings, which nobody wants to see?
Yeah, that's the situation. But are we talking our teams, yeah? Not Frank's team? Because I would play Ziyech. Because
if it's our team, Ziyech, fam, done the boss, done that. Nah, he starts immediately. So
you know what Frank said after the game. He's like, because we can't train with the under-23s and that because of the bubbles, right? That's why he can't actually gain much fitness just in training, especially because it's all recovery days for everyone that starts and shit. So to get Ziyech to his best, even if he isn't going to be absolutely on fire against Man United, he needs to play games to actually get there. So no question about it. The man's had 3 half an hours or 2 half an hours and 20 minutes. It's enough now. The man starts, and we're going to better him, I say.
Bro, I don't know, bro.
You're going to go Cow? You're going to go Cow? You're going to go Hudson-Odoi or what?
I don't even... Honestly, like you said, Ziyech would be the dream. Do you know what I'm saying? Ziyech should be the dream, but... Are we? What do you think Lampard will do though? Because obviously the starting 11 for me, if in an ideal world, Mendy, Chilwell, Thiago Silva, Kurt Zuma, Reece James, Jorginho, Kovacic or Kante, Werner, Pulisic, Havertz, and Ziyech. But I still see I don't see Lampard pulling Mount out like this close to the United game. Do you know what I'm saying? I just don't see it happening. Do you think Lampard is going to play Mount there? What do you see happening? What do you think is going to come up?
I wouldn't even be totally surprised if he drags Werner to the wing again and starts a different striker.
Oh, that would be. Do you think that's better than playing Mount on the wings though?
We're wasting more talent because of how good Werner is when he's up front.
Yeah.
I'd probably, in total, probably better. Although you still have Pulisic on the right, so you're still kind of pointless.
It's a tough one, bro. I can't lie to you, it's a tough one.
It really, really is. Sometimes I'm glad I'm not the manager.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm glad. Because we sit here and, someone put in the chat earlier, they love how everyone's a football expert now. No, we don't claim to be experts. No, we do. I'm joking. Of course we are.
Oh god,
nah, it's good. I mean, there's so many more things. I mean, literally, we could be sat here for 3-4 hours and still wouldn't be done talking about shit. It's just what it is. But we need to find an end at some point. This was way longer than I initially planned, anyways. But I loved it. First of all, Dami, appreciate you coming on. Appreciate that a lot. Definitely, we'll do that again.
Thanks for having me on.
The man knows what he's on about. He's funny, and I like him. So that's why. Check him out on Twitter. Like I said, his link is down in the description and you can see his @ on the screen. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. Help me reach 7K subs and then we move on to the big 10K. And then obviously we go from there. Drop a like if you enjoyed this so far and if you watching it later on as a video. If so, then also leave me your thoughts on everything that we mentioned, even though that's basically making you write a paragraph. But, summarize it. Leave me your thoughts in the comments. But yeah, we're going to leave it here. Thank you guys for watching. Dami, do you have a couple of last words?
Last words. I mean... United, I pray we can't lose to United. God, please, I beg we don't lose to United because I might have to deactivate because I'm consistently dragging United fans on Twitter with my stupid little videos and everything. So I just pray we beat United. But yeah, lovely conversation, Laurenz. Thanks for having me on. We definitely do this again. I can't believe we overshot this by 45 minutes. That's mental because I felt like we were here for just 30, but it is what it is. Good conversation, so we keep it moving.
Yeah, appreciate that. Let's hope we do it again, like in a FA Cup semi-final. Play like that against United. I'll take it. That'd be brilliant. But yeah, thank you guys for watching.